Serge, can you get the door? I think Kyle's friend is here. A month had passed since I'd come out, but dating was still a delicate topic. Technically speaking, they'd accepted me for who I was, but how much choice does a parent really have in a situation like that? Imagine, if you will, a stereotypical teenager in his room. Slouched against the foot of the bed, Pantera drowned out the gore fest that was House of the Dead. At the sound of my mom calling, I paused my Dreamcast and headed downstairs. The situation downstairs was no less stereotypical, though somewhat antiquated. Mom played the 50s housewife, chopping vegetables in a polka-dot apron. The kitchen floor even had checkerboard tiles to match the aesthetic. Dad was in the living room reading American Psycho in his armchair. Stubborn bastard couldn't even be bothered to let Ferris in the door. As I unlatched the deadbolt, I considered my old man was about a football game and a beer away from being a cardboard cutout. Ferris, hey, give me 2 seconds, okay? Yeah, it's fine. Ferris's voice trailed off as I darted back upstairs to get my wallet, leaving him standing awkwardly in the doorway. I briefly considered introducing my family before deciding not to be a complete idiot, so before Ferris could get a word in edgewise, both of us were out the door and on our way. Nice family, he commented. I shrugged. I'm just happy they're letting us go out. I really didn't feel like getting chatty. You mean after you came out? Yeah. I told you about that, right? Ferris nodded, then exhaled. Sounds nuts. After all that, your parents still just let you waltz out the door with me? My dad knows he fucked up. He just can't admit it, so he'd rather act like I'm not there. I guess you could say that's what he does best. Still seems weird that they didn't find out earlier. Your voice kind of gives it away. He had a point. I'd always spoken in a resonant drawl, with soft S's that screamed gay. Then again, my brother Sam seemed to think my voice was too authoritative and deadpan for a gay guy. I never remembered my tone changing, but he insisted my cadence was more playful back in elementary school. I think it's that my personality never matched their idea of what a gay kid would be like, I said truthfully. I take it your parents knew a lot earlier? Freshman year. My parents are pretty big on gay rights, so it wasn't a huge deal. I can't imagine what being gay would be like in your household. If the same thing happened to me, I would have been traumatized. No surprise there. Ferris's voice was unmistakably effeminate and soft-spoken. It was pretty hard to envision him dating a girl. Look, my old man tried to start a fight and it bit him in the ass. The same thing would have happened no matter what the fight was about. Slightly peeved, I added, I don't get why you're trying to turn this into a gay thing. Gay thing or not, I can't help admiring how strong you were in that situation. I used to be a total pussy, I admitted. I think Sam's the reason I changed. He got really mad when I didn't stand up for myself. Taught me not to take shit from anyone, and that was back in grade school. If he comes back for summer break, I'll introduce you. You'll like him a lot. 6 years earlier. Kyle, what on earth happened to you? You look terrible. I had an accident on the playground. We were doing flips off the swing set and I fell. This is the 3rd week in a row you've come home all banged up. Mom gave an exasperated sigh. I'll go get the Neosporin. Sam waited until she'd left the kitchen, then put down his peanut butter and jelly sandwich before leaning toward me. Same kid again? I nodded miserably. For better or worse, the scrape on my arm could have passed for an accident. The bruised cheek was less convincing. Damn it, Kyle, quit letting him do that. He had friends, 6 of them. If I'd hit back, they all would have joined in. Well, it's still better than just standing there and doing nothing, for Christ's sake. Mom came back, and I winced as she disinfected and bandaged my face and arm. Sam took another bite of his sandwich. Hey, Kyle, did I tell you I finally beat the Vortex Queen? He asked through a mouthful. Really? How long did it take you? Not too long, once you figure out how to hit the jaw. I paused when I beat it because I wanted to show you. Come upstairs and see for yourself. Sam rinsed off his plate, then ran up to his room. After touching my cheek gingerly and thanking Mom, I followed him upstairs. Always the Type A firstborn, my brother's room was spotless, even back then. A dinky 12-inch screen cast a dim glow on my brother's face, who sat with the controller in his lap, waiting for me. How long did you pause it for? I asked, looking at the screen. Last night. Sam smirked. You were already asleep, so I just left the TV on. You ready? Heck yeah! Sam unpaused the game, and we both watched the Queen slowly sink into the ocean. Want to try the boss now? I can tell you how to beat it. I shook my head. Can't. I think I jammed my thumb earlier. Sam frowned. You didn't try fighting back, did you? He asked. Then, after reading my silence, Kyle, get up. Make a fist. Like this? Don't tuck in the thumb. Do it like this. Tighter. Good. Try hitting me. What? Sam, I really don't want to fight. I took a step back in apprehension. I don't care. Even at 13, my brother had a penchant for posturing, and his look of annoyance told me that he thought this was for my own good. Mind you, he was probably right. I really was a pussy back then. That's not fair, I whined. You're way bigger than I am. See what I mean? Sam shook his head. I didn't say you had to win. Just hit me. I gritted my teeth, closed my eyes, and tried to imagine he'd just pushed me down the stairs. My eyes shot open and locked onto him, and my fist flew forward, aimed at his chest. He batted the punch to the side and shoved me over. Ugh, what? I babbled, confused as I looked up at him from the floor. Too predictable. Get up. Ugh, why do I have to do this? It stinks, I moaned, picking myself up from the floor. Bring your legs apart more. No, bring one forward. Sam was all commands now, talking at me and not to me. In frustration, I lashed out again. This time Sam ducked and countered, jabbing me in the side. Instinctively, my hand flew down to grapple his arm and pull him off balance. A 10-year-old Kyle didn't weigh nearly enough to send him toppling over, so he yanked back and sent me sprawling instead. Before he could patronize me again, I was already up, glaring at him while he looked back with an approving smile. Present day. 2 for the Matrix? $10.20. Oh, and I need to see your ID. Still feels weird not having to sneak in anymore, I commented, fishing around for my wallet before Ferris and I slid our cards to the clerk. If we'd gone last week, you'd have had to say you were my dad, laughed Ferris. Dude, you're taller than I am. Popcorn? I offered, as we passed the refreshments. Nah, I'm good. There was a brief pause. You know, you're a lot less scary than I thought you'd be. I'd heard this conversation before, but what the hell. Might as well let him say his piece. What do you mean? Like, I always see you alone, but it's pretty obvious you're not shy. Or like everyone's afraid of you. No offense. Yeah, well, there was an incident back in grade school. Some kids were picking on me, and I snapped. Kinda silly, seeing as it happened so long ago, but no one ever forgot about that. Ferris handed our tickets over to be punched before shrugging. I can't blame you. I still fantasize about beating up Don sometimes. First theater on your right. Enjoy the show. Thanks. Don? Really? Dude doesn't look like he's ever hit a gym in his life. You could bash his face in, assuming the stench didn't knock you out first. It's not that. I'm just not that type of person, said Ferris. Well, neither was I, but sometimes shit happens. Like with your dad? I waited until we were at the door before answering. That was a lot different, I said quietly, hoping the silence of the theater would pressure him to drop the subject. 1 month earlier. I'm gay. Well, you did it, Kyle. Don't you feel so relieved now? Dad's towering over you, alcohol on his breath, and Mom looks like you just slapped her in the face. But hey, you finally got the words out. Congratulations. You fucking idiot. The punch came without warning, catching me in the cheek and sending me stumbling back. 16 years of blood and sweat and I raised a faggot, he slurred, raising his fist to strike again. In my state of momentary shock, I somehow managed to sidestep the second blow. Instinct took hold, suppressing the rage that was bubbling at my subconscious. Spatial awareness began blotting out my thoughts. I was aware of my father as a target, and furniture as obstacles. There was an unlocked door in the corner if I had to make a quick escape. Mom was on the other side of the room with a death grip on the phone. She looked like she wanted to call the police, but was paralyzed. Dad turned to face me, an expression a mixture of shock and contempt. Why couldn't you have turned out like Sam? He growled. 6 years later, and my brother's voice still echoed in crystal clarity. Just hit me. Without warning, I jabbed my father under the ribs, knocking the wind out of him. You fucking... he rasped, before rushing at me in a blind rage. I leapt to the right, sweeping with my leg to send him sprawling onto the floor. Now the immediate threat was gone, my own contempt finally broke to the surface, and I brought my heel straight down into his gut. Fuck you, you abusive drunk meathead! My dad glared up at me from the floor. I'll fucking lock you away, he croaked. Fine, call the cops. I grabbed his collar and drove the heel of my hand into his nose. What are you gonna tell them? That you got beaten half to death by a flaming faggot? I thought you were supposed to be the bigger man! Each word I punctuated with another blow, spattering the carpet with blood. The room seemed to fall away, leaving me alone in a fog of heat that engulfed me as I pummeled the limp body underneath. It was only when my mom finally peeled me off of him that I noticed the silence in the room, alone with the viscous smears of blood on my hands and my own heavy breathing. Present day. I'll have the almond-crusted salmon with steamed rice and the vegetable of the day. After the movie, the two of us had walked around for a bit, taking shelter in a seafood restaurant when it started drizzling outside. And for some reason, my date now sounded like a completely different person. What the fuck? Alright, I'll just take those for you. The waitress collected the menus, giving Ferris a wink before shuffling off. When she turned away, he made a gagging gesture. I looked directly at him. What was with that voice? What do you mean? He asked, still sounding different. I rolled my eyes at his response. You're really bad at feigning ignorance. Your voice changed, right when you gave her your order. Oh, this is how I normally talk. I've never heard you talk this way. Yeah, Ferris admitted. I just do it at school. You've got to be shitting me. You pretend to have a gay voice? Well, I am gay, so it's not really pretending, Ferris explained. I'm just letting people know who I am. That's totally pretending. How does faking your own voice tell people who you are? It just sounds like you're trying too hard, I said. You mean you don't do it too? What? No! This is my voice! I ran my fingers through my hair in exasperation. Fine, but it's not like you've never gone out of your way to express yourself. I mean, you said you stuck the pride pin on your backpack the day after you came out to your parents. Isn't that the same thing? That's completely different. The pin shows something, but I'm not hiding anything about myself by having it. I didn't even know what your voice sounded like until now. Hell, I didn't even know you had another one. Hey, it's not like it wasn't my voice. I'm still the one talking. That's such a cop-out. Noticing Ferris shrink back, I was suddenly aware I'd raised my voice. Great job, Kyle. You're scaring him off just like everyone else. Sorry, I mumbled. It's okay, Ferris replied. Seeing my look of doubt, he added, No, really, that's why I like you. You're strong and you're passionate about that kind of stuff. Oh, thanks. Say something polite, damn it. You've got a really nice voice, I said awkwardly. I don't see what's so special about it, but thanks. Ferris's face lit up with curiosity. Hey, can you do a breeder voice? Excuse me? You've never heard that term before? It's a slur for straight people. At this, I erupted with laughter. It's so good! Alright, give me a second. It took several tries to speak without breaking into laughter again. Hey dude, you wanna score some chicks? This time we both laughed. Ferris shook his head in mock disappointment. What are you, a surfer? I think I like you better as a gay. 2 weeks earlier. I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. Before we start the open mic, we're going to do a little exercise. Does everyone have something to write with? The woman, who'd introduced herself as Bree, walked over to the side of the room and picked up a coffee mug filled with pencils. I'd given up trying to count the rainbows on her body after noticing her painted nails. She looked like she lost a bet. As she came around to my row, I reached out and plucked a pencil from the mug before sitting back in the folding chair. As I dug around my backpack for a notebook, Bree began to explain the task. I want each of you to think about a point in your life when you felt less than. Maybe you wanted to be different, or felt as if you were never heard. We want that voice to be heard today. Haiku, slam poetry, free verse, anything's fair game. To my surprise, I realized I wasn't able to remember the last time I'd felt like that. I remembered being bullied when I was a kid, but for some reason, no feelings rushed forth to match the memories that formed so clearly in my head. That version of me felt so distant now. Realizing my pencil had been moving, I glanced down at the page. She told us to put on a frown and say we're being put down. She eases our fear while sounding sincere, but why is she dressed as a clown? Having registered what I'd just written, I began scribbling over the lines hurriedly, checking if anyone had seen the offending limerick. A bead of sweat ran down the back of my neck as the boy on my right looked over at me. "I get like that too sometimes," he said comfortingly. "You gotta stop second-guessing yourself and just let the writing flow, you know?" Thanks for the tip," I replied with a weak smile, relieved the boy hadn't read the page. "What's your name?" "I'm Ferris." Present day. "I heard you flew off the handle, but I'm still proud of you. You stood your ground. You only have to live with Dad for another 2 years, but you're stuck with yourself for the rest of your life, so I'm really happy you're putting yourself first." Thanks, Sam. By the way, how'd the date go? Didn't someone from the support group ask you out? I still don't know why I let you convince me to go to that thing. The guy was kind of a faggot. I'm not sure why I expected Sam to laugh at the joke. Critical as always, my brother only sighed in frustration. I don't know what's worse, you joking to avoid the subject, or feeding a stereotype just so you can set yourself apart from it. I was grateful he couldn't see my face over the phone. Sam hadn't changed a bit since moving out. Never missed a chance to go for the jugular. "Sam, look, it's really hard to connect with a bunch of people that call themselves a support group. I mean, we're gay for fuck's sake, it's not like we've got cancer. I'm not saying you're wrong, but you have to consider what you've been through. You've been dealing with this since 4th grade. Even before you knew you were gay, you knew you were different, right? You got all that bullying shit out of the way, and now you're happy with who you are. Most kids your age are still going through that now. Of course they want support. They haven't gotten to where you are yet." "So what? You saying I just have to wait for gay people to grow up?" "Why do you keep turning this into a gay thing? You're in high school. Everyone is insecure. Everyone's growing up. If you don't believe me, try being straight for a day. I know that's not what you wanted to hear, but that kind of thing takes time." Shit, why am I turning this into a gay thing? I'm such a fucking hypocrite. "How am I supposed to believe everyone's going to magically grow a pair in 2 years?" I shot back, forcing the twinge of guilt to the back of my mind. "The last time we talked, you were telling me kids in college were basically the same." Sam hesitated. "That's different. People do stupid shit, but they aren't starved for validation like they are in high school." "So what do I do until then?" "I don't know, Kyle. Give the kid a chance. It was just one date. Don't be so judgmental. Maybe you've got more in common than you think. Anyway, I'm about to get dinner with Felicia. I'll catch up with you later, okay?" I had to bite my tongue for that one. Sam was the most judgmental person I knew. "Alright, I love you." "Love you too, Kyle. Hang in there." Letting out a long breath, I dropped the phone back in the cradle and flopped back in bed, staring up to the ceiling. Sam had a point. I was pretty quick to judge, even if he wasn't much better. But thinking about dating Ferris just wasn't an attractive option. He was pleasant enough. Cute, too. But it was hard not to look down on him, let alone devote mental energy to dating him. Certainly it would be easier if I liked him. Sam would finally stop accusing me of pushing people away. Hell, even if I disliked him, I could still push him away and be done with it. But I just felt hollow.